So the governor is back, but not quite in the way that I was expecting. Episode review for The Walking Dead episode Live Bait. And this is our first governor-centric episode of the series, but like I said, not quite what I was anticipating, and I think probably a lot of people feel that way. Now, the episode picked right up where we left off with the governor when we last saw him at the end of Season 3. He had just got done murdering like 15 innocent people, just killed them all in a psychotic break, and then drove off with his henchmen. But then the two henchmen that amazingly they stuck with him after his mass murder episode, then they finally ditch him in the middle of the night. Why you wouldn't leave the guy that just killed 15 people, or better yet, kill him, or kill him while he's sleeping that night, instead of just walking away, I don't know. But after that, we see the governor. He is broken. He's a man he's just a shell. He won't eat. He won't even try to fight the walkers. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He's just walking. He burns Woodbury to the ground. He is just barely alive at this point until he happens upon a family. Now, it was pretty obvious that they were going to use this family as a way for him to kind of redeem himself. I mean, they had a little girl. They had a father who was sick and dying. But let's talk about this family for a second, okay? First, we had Tara, the police academy girl. Her goofy zingers and her attempts at humor in this episode, they were both lame and annoying. One reason is because they just kept coming. Like, up until near the end of the episode, everything that this woman was saying was some sort of play at or attempt at humor. It was supposed to be lighthearted, but it just sounded lame and cheesy, and it just did not work for me. Now let's talk about the other woman, Lily. Did anybody else feel like this woman looked very, very similar to Maggie? Because it damn sure did to me. I mean, the governor, he could have just been like, hey lady, I once fake raped a girl, looked just like you. Now, whatever, looks aside, we had first in this family the dad, then Lily. Okay, they both asked the governor. It was a man whom they just met, and I'm talking within the first 24 hours of meeting this random dude, they ask him to put himself in some serious danger, especially with the second request, to get stuff for them. And they make him go by himself with absolutely no backup whatsoever. I mean, that just kind of seemed a little douchey to me. Like, hey man, here you go, here's some SpaghettiOs. Now, why don't you go get me some oxygen tanks and a board game? And yeah, we're not coming with you. And there's lots of walkers out there. Best of luck to you. So, I don't know, that just seemed a little weird to me. But eventually the governor, he did form a bond with the little girl, Megan. And the scene where the governor explained in a roundabout way about what happened to his eye, that was a very nice, sympathetic scene for him. And after the governor, he brutally puts down the father. After the father dies from his cancer, he goes to leave, and he begrudgingly, after Lily basically forcing him, he takes all of the women along with him. And, during their travels, he gets his bump and grind on with Lily. Then after running with some walkers, they meet up with one of the governor's former henchmen, whose name escapes me at the moment. So I will say that even though it was unexpected, the character turn that they're doing with the governor, I like what they're doing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think, they're treating him like a sympathetic, regretful character, but he also has this undercurrent of menace to him. And that you could tell best during the chess game scene with Megan, where he was talking about, moving your pieces around and you could still lose your pawns but win the war in the end. Though he's obviously less dark and less menacing than what he was in the third season. So what I took away from the episode was it did feel like that the governor, he was regretful for what he did, and he really didn't want to align himself with this family. Because it's almost like he didn't trust himself. Like, he's afraid he might go berserk again and do serious harm to them. But he agrees reluctantly to stay with them, and now he's got a love interest in Lily and the little girl that he feels an emotional bond with, like his daughter again. So now going forward, if something happens to either one of them or both of them, there's a pretty good chance that he's going to relapse into super psycho mode and just go balls out crazy. And whatever's going to happen, we're going to find out next week, because it looks like we're getting another full episode dedicated completely to the governor. Alright, so my least favorite part of this episode was definitely the dialogue from Tara for most of the episode. I mean, toward the end, she kind of knocked it off, but for about 3/4 of the episode, there was just cheesy, goofy dialogue coming for her in an attempt at some kind of humor. And it wasn't working for me. Now, the part that I really enjoyed of this episode was those walker kills in the pit at the end of the episode. Governor was being just straight up badass. I mean, you're going to do a throat rip on one walker, and you're literally going to kill a walker just by punching him in the face so hard that you break through his skull. Then you think another walker can kill it by pulling its head back from the top of its jaw so hard that you split its face open? Awesome stuff. Totally fucking awesome. Okay, so overall, I am going to give this episode a B. Okay, the episode was a little bit slow for my taste. I definitely didn't expect it to go the way it did with the governor. However, I like what they're doing for now. And what I mean by that is, it all depends on where they take the character. It's really hard to take a guy that was so psycho and so just willing to do such awful things last season and murdered 15 or so innocent people and try to make him into a redeemable character. This guy, to me, is best suited as a villain. You gotta take him as a guy who's trying to come back, who wants to come back. He's found this family. Regrettably, he's decided to take them into his care, and he's doing his best to protect them, but then something terrible happens to them. And he could even be the cause of it in some way, like accidentally. And that would just cause him to relapse. And he'd be much more of a tragic villain. That is the best way to go, in my opinion. But to turn him around and make him into a good guy, I don't really want to see that happen. So I'm hoping that's not what they do. It all depends on how they handle it going forward. But right now, it's, we're left to guess, see what happens in the coming episodes. That's going to do it for me, JB Squared 61279, with a Walking Dead episode review, and I will see you guys next time.